Hey there, this is Andrew bringing you some more great KeyForge content. Uh, I'm gonna talk through some of the swag I got at a recent Prime. Sorry for the bad camera work here; it won't last long. I'm gonna talk through the a couple decks that one deck that I used in an adaptive Prime and didn't do great with. I'll talk through my brother-in-law's deck that he got top 8 with. And then I'll show you my deck that I won a prime with. You can hear my dog in the background. Also, I just want to say, hope everybody's doing okay during quarantines and social distancing and uh, shelter in place, which is what we're at here in California. So hope you all are doing okay. Stay calm and be kind. That's I think that's really key. Be the good guy. All right, or good lady. All that stuff. Okay, so yeah, so I guess I'll start from the bottom of the swag pile. I think this is the bottom. Um, so I've actually been to 5 primes now, and have a lot of these tokens. So if you get in the top 16, you get some of these beautiful stun tokens. They're really nice. I love them. I've gotten enough now that these are what I use for my stun tokens, and I really like them. You get one of these deck boxes. They're fine. They're nice. They're not extremely durable, but they're pretty, and they have a nice space for writing. Or if you have stickers from the GameGenic boxes, you can put those there. So really nice. Okay, if you make top 8, you get one of these Grim Reaper mats. They do all say top 8 on them, so it doesn't matter if you win. You still get one that says top 8. Really nice. I love it, and I have too many of these now, but yeah, they're really nice. Um, if you make top 4, you get a box. This is just cardboard, but it's a nice box. It's a really nice box with Nizak and the Red Baron and Timequake on it. And is that? Oh, I guess on the side it has Lateral Shift, Grim Reaper. Yeah, and it's really sturdy. It holds a bunch of decks. If they're sleeved, they probably just fit in there. I think I've put burger boxes in here. The sleeved burger boxes fit in here okay. And yeah, it's nice and sturdy. So I love it. Definitely a nice box. I have 2 of those because this is my second time getting top 4 or better. And if you get to top 2, then you get these really cool metal keys. These are smaller versions of the ones that you can get at the Vault Tour. Um, but yeah, really nice. I actually like the unforged side. I'm more a fan of the unforged side than of the forged side. It has a nice sort of like battle worn look, whereas this is just a little too smooth and simple for my taste. It's nice. It's just so the keys I normally use um, are the Arbits ones on the PCB, and I like the unforged side of these ones better, but I like the forged sides of the Arbits one better. So if I could have something that was a mix of the two, I'd love that. But anyway, but they're great. I mean, I don't mean to diminish, and they feel good, and they fit in the vault. So definitely when I'm using the vault, if I'm trying to store all my tokens in the vault, this is going to be the way that these will be the keys that I use. So those are cool. And if you manage to get first, then you get this cool Nizak mat. It's really beautiful. I mean, such great art. I wish I liked the card better. Um, I don't love the card, but I love the art. Um, and the mat's just beautiful. So great. So that is just for first place. And on top of that, you get an invite to World Championships, which is currently postponed indefinitely. So yeah, that's all the swag. I'll just back that out again. Sorry for the cord getting in the way. I'm not doing my usual setup here, so all bets are off. Maybe I'll use those for some deck reveals in the not too distant future. Um, let's see here. Let me flip things around. And there we go. So, so now I want to take a little time just to talk through some adaptive decks and strategies. And I'll start with the one that I used at the last prime I went to where I did not make the top cut. I went 2 and 5 in Swiss. Um, and my theory going into that was, first of all, this is a very good deck, and I love it. It's a lot of fun. Um, I was really considering going with a different deck, but decided on this one at the last moment because of a couple things. And my theory was that, uh, first of all, uh, people aren't used to speed sigil, and that was true. People are not used to speed sigil. People make a lot of mistakes playing around speed sigil. This is mitigated a little bit by the fact that the rules are that both players are responsible for the state of the game. So if I have speed sigil on the board, or let's say either player has speed sigil on the board, uh, and they put a creature out and they don't put it in ready, they put it in exhausted, their first creature. Well, it should have come in ready. So if I'm their opponent and I notice that, and I don't say, your creature should come into play ready, I'm cheating. So because I don't want to do that, um, probably 3 to 5 times throughout the day, I ended up saying to people, "Oh, that creature comes in ready." Um, so there's a little bit of my theory on this was mitigated by the fact that first of all, I wanted to be the good guy, but second, like those are the rules. So um, I also wanted to not cheat, but I also wanted to play fair in addition to wanting to not cheat. So um, now people don't always make the wisest decisions. That's what I was kind of going for, but ultimately that didn't work out to be as much of an advantage as I had hoped. Um, Overall, the deck has very low power, very low board control, and my hope was that uh, I could just play it better under those circumstances, which I think I generally did. Um, but um, and it has a lot of ways to turn an opponent's successes against them. It has too much to protect. It has bait and switch. Effervescent principle can pull somebody down. So it has really cool features. Um, but ultimately, it just wasn't enough. And I think so. I had a pretty bad game three where I think lost due to um, uh, some bad bidding choices at the beginning. Um, but there's some other stuff that went down that was just not nice, and that kind of threw me off for the rest of the day. Um, so yeah, I ended up going 2-5. The other part of my theory here was that because it has 3 lab works, I thought, hey, this will be interesting because I can kind of hold some things back. And um, in in adaptive, one of my theories was like the more you can have your opponent not be able to understand all your choices that you made during game one, the more likely it is that you have a chance to win game two. And I did have or 2 matches that I won 2-0, but I also lost 2 matches 2-0. So it was kind of a two-edged sword in that way. Um, and the last one definitely against Exodid was a case where I I would say I think he would agree. I really misplayed his deck, and he has a really good adaptive deck. But anyway, the other thing that I was thinking here is Varelion is not very high variance, and so I thought, well, it means that the games are going to tend to go to skill, and that's a nice theory. Of course, I went 2-5, so what does that say about me? But but on top of that, um, other people are playing high variance decks, and in those cases they could high roll. And if they high rolled and then I low rolled with their deck, then my theory of, well, I don't want high variance, that doesn't mean somebody else won't introduce a lot of variance. So I feel like that uh, didn't quite pan out the way I wanted. So okay, so that was my one that I went 2-5 with. So not so great. Um, let's look at my brother-in-law's deck that he took to one last Saturday, a week ago, for me, and he made it to top 8 with this deck and did a really good job. So this one's interesting because this deck is just so bad, and um, just going through the stats on SAS, right? 13 expected amber is pretty low, especially for a Coda deck. Um, Pretty low amber control, a little bit of artifact control actually, which is interesting, but low creature control, very low effective power. So it just doesn't have a lot going for it. It has some speed, and that I think is where it's possible if you get the right combos to like make some progress with it. But his theory going in was this deck is like bad. I will lose 100% of game ones. I'll win 100% of game twos, and we'll go to bid um, and I think that my opponents will bid wrong, and I'll win that way. And he went 3-2 in Swiss that way. One of his losses was against me. Um, but we had tested a little bit, so I think I was a little more immune to making those mistakes. And then off of the 3-2, he made it into the he he had good strength of schedule, so he made it into the top cut very easily, and ended up ended up losing there though because uh, he 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 we went to game three. Um, he bid a little too much for the other person's deck and ended up losing. Um, but it was an interesting theory, and you can see like there are some nice things in here, right? Like library access phase shift is super cool. But then you look at, okay, but what are you actually getting out with it, right? There's not a lot of things that are really high impact on the game. If you can get like Remiel and Megamouth out, you can have some cool combo turns, but it doesn't tend to happen a lot. Uh, so yeah, that theory of bringing a bad deck got him into the top cut, but it did not take him through to the end. So that brings me to my last one, and I was trying to look through and see if I had done a review of this deck before, and apparently I didn't. I opened this deck right when Worlds Collide first released. I think this was the first sealed event that I went to, maybe the second, um, but it was very early on, and it was a sealed event that I went to, and I went. 3-1 with it in this sealed event, and the loss at the end was it was very close. I almost won, but my friend he had a deck with Ragnarok in it, and he got Ragnarok played early, and he flipped his deck and on his last turn got to play it again, and that was ultimately what got him the win, was getting to play the Ragnarok that second time. So even he admitted that was kind of like a little bit of a fluke. But this one's interesting. It has so it's actually my highest SAS rated deck at 81. I have decks that are definitely better. SAS isn't everything, but it is a good deck. But if you look at it, 9 expected amber. That's even lower than the one we were just looking at. It does have 7.3 amber control. It has a few ways to control amber, but that's not very high. If you look at decks that you would think are going to be like uh, winning Archon Solo Vault Tours, like probably not. They're probably going to have much higher numbers in both these categories. They're probably going to have, yeah, better numbers there. So, but I know this deck can do super well, and and ultimately it plays certainly much better than those would say. Now, of course, the 81 SAS says it should be good, so this is a case where I think SAS is directionally accurate. Um, but you can't just play all the cards in this deck and have it go your way. And one of the things I don't want to spill all the secrets, but I played this deck a few times online testing it. I've played it a lot in person, and looking at it, I was able to see some patterns in the games that went really well versus games that went poorly. Um, and this is a deck that almost every turn presents the pilot with multiple options. In some cases, multiple good options, in some cases, multiple bad options. But it's very rarely the case with this deck that there's an obvious correct house to call. And um, and so because of that, it means that while it is a good deck, there's a big difference between it playing as a good deck and playing as a very good deck. There's maybe I think probably like about 100% efficiency gain or performance improvement that it can have by making the truly optimal calls versus just good calls all the time. And so I said, look, if I play this, the likelihood is that I'm going to win game one most of the time. I will probably lose game two a good portion of the time, and then we'll be bidding chains. But I think I can win on that. And in practice, uh, most of my games went 2-0. Um, Out of all the games I played, yeah, the majority of them went 2-0. And there was a couple weird things that happened. There was a round where my opponent, who I defeated 2-0 in Swiss, ended up winning game one, and I think we were partway through game two. He had a train. He was trying to decide whether to catch it or wait for a later one, and he ended up deciding that he thought game two was going to go my way, and he didn't have high enough confidence for game three to stick with it, so he just conceded and left. Um, and I honestly don't know how that one would have turned out. I was uh, I was pretty stressed out that round, but then the top four and the semifinal and final round both went 2-0 with me winning. Um, so in both those cases, I was able to. Oh, that's the other thing is again without spilling all the beans. I'll just say that I know what this deck's weaknesses are from having played it a bunch. I know when I'm sad, and in both those cases, I was able to play my opponent's deck in a way that maybe wasn't playing it the most efficiently, but was shutting down Crawley, so Crawley couldn't do the things it wanted, and it paid off. Yeah, so I think that's the three sort of theories I guess we've covered with these three decks are um, bring like a good but not the greatest deck and try to win on skill. Bring a terrible deck, lose game one, win game two, and try to win on the bid. And bring a great deck and try to win game one. Maybe if you're lucky, get game two, and then try to win the bid. Um, and uh, ultimately, that in my little microcosm, that was the strategy that won. And I will just say, as a kind of a weird thing, when I did face off with my brother-in-law, who was playing the last deck I showed, the 56 SAS one, and I was playing this one. Of course, I won game one, he won game two. We went to the bid, and partially because I was 4-0 at that point, I didn't need the win, and I didn't mind if he got the win. I bid way higher than I probably should have, and I gave an obscenely high bid. I took my deck for 19 chains, and I ended up winning. So weird, crazy things can happen in this format. It was a lot of fun. Thanks to everybody who came and played. Even though I 2-0'd a bunch of matchups, like I really think everybody played fantastically. Everybody played great, and it was, yeah, it was a lot of fun. So um, thanks, and thanks again to Brad and Richard Garfield and Alex Watkins, all the folks at FFG that have made and supported a great game. It's been really nice. Thanks to you for watching, and hope you're doing well during everybody's downtime. And I hope I'll get to see you at some future event where we can forge some keys.